I want to transfer this dialogue from development projects as aid to development projects as investment to our investment panel. And let me introduce Ukrainian Venture Capital Association, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. This is going to be the most important and I think most interesting panel for you, because you're going to see the panelists that are investors that continue to invest in Ukraine. They do direct investments, and if you're ready, just let me know. We're going to get on stage. Okay, let me ask the panelists to take the stage, please. Any order you want. All right. So once again, my name is Andrei Koloduk. I'm a chairman of Ukrainian Venture Capital Private Equity Association that consists of the 56 members, that investors that are invested in Ukraine. And it's my pleasure to have this panel when you will see our members, 3 of our members actually here that are continue to invest in Ukraine and has been doing this for some of them for decades. And also we have very important partners of Ukrainian investment ecosystem, from the business friends, from European Commission, and also representatives of the Ukraine Invest, which is a semi-government body as well. So today, you will hear about the insight from the investors that invest in Ukraine, what the challenges they have, and actually why they continue to invest and attract the investors around the globe to co-invest with them. So we will have a very practical panel, but hopefully in the end, we will have enough of time for Q&A and for you to ask the investors on the stage the questions that you want. But I will start with passing the microphone. Oh, actually, you have microphones for each of you in 3 minutes to introduce your company or your operations, and also probably shed the lights on your operation specifically for the last 1,000 days as well. So we go just by the order. So Roman, we probably start with you.
Thank you, Andrei. Thank you, everybody, for being here. My name is Romain Detieux, so I'm the head of Business France. Business France is a state organization. Our mission is to bring a French company in Ukraine, but also to help Ukrainian companies to invest in France. I'm based in Kyiv permanently with my team at the French Embassy. We organize different missions. Here, for instance, today we have the French pavilion, so we have organized that with my team. We also promote Ukraine in France. We organized this year in July a business forum, France-Ukraine, in the French Senate. That the things we do, then we design special program to help Ukrainian understanding the Ukrainian market. I've been myself for 15 years in Ukraine, so it's a new role for the last almost 1,000 days. But before that, I was working in agriculture, representing and managing a company that did invest in Ukraine during wartime in 2014. We invested 10 million euros, and at that time, I think it was roughly 10% of total FDI in the country when we had 200% devaluation and 50% inflation. So I will bring here, so we have people knowing way better than me private equity. If I started my career at Rothschild in private equity, from the bottom, what we try to do at Business France to make sure that those investors have companies that gonna bring them great return on investment, not tomorrow, but already from now. Thank you.
Thank you, Roman. Yeah.
Thank you so much indeed for having me as well. I work at the European Commission, the Ukraine service, and I'm in charge of recovery and reconstruction of Ukraine. You referred to the effort that we are doing to support Ukraine over the last 1,000 days. Indeed, from the side of the European Union, this has been a tremendous effort. Never in the past we have dedicated so much of our resources, both our political support, our diplomacy, our financial instruments, military support. So this is very, very significant what the European Union has done to help Ukraine over the last 1,000 days. But in particular, when it comes to the mobilization of investment, this year from March, actually, when we have got our Ukraine facility adopted, we are rolling out our 50 billion package in support of Ukraine. Part of this is a very significant Ukraine investment framework equipped with 9.3 billion euros to mobilize investment that amounts to additional 40 billion. So these are immense funding opportunities, and they are working also to support the economic recovery, private sector, also private equity investment. We have gone through several stages over the last couple of months since March. We have, in fact, signed the first investment agreements only 4 months into the implementation timeline of the Ukraine facility. So just 4 months after it came into force, we signed 1.4 billion euros that leverage additional 6 billion in investments. And we are entering currently a new phase in the rollout of the Ukraine investment framework. This new phase entails a dedicated call that is aimed at international financial institutions, which also includes, in particular, a focus on mobilization of private equity, and I will come back to that point a little bit later.
Yes, we're very grateful for the Ukraine service and for the Ukraine service team in Brussels because we also been based, UVC office has been based in Brussels for the last 1,000 days, so we were very helpful in order to share the information and opportunities coming from Ukraine, and hopefully that's just the beginning of our cooperation, and would like to hear more and the more practicalities, because obviously in this room you have the Ukrainian entrepreneurs and SMEs that asking every day our members and everyone how they can get investments and et cetera, but we will continue that during the later stage. Our today's discussion, Konstantin Mogilevsky.
Yes, so I'm representing Green Recovery Fund Ukraine. It's a joint venture between us and Andrei Stavnitzer and Philip Grushko, SD Capital. So I have several heads in a way, yes, in this regard. So we are focused on energy and logistics investments in Ukraine because currently there is no equity available for those who want to build energy generation facilities in Ukraine, and we want to change this. And in logistics as well, in logistics to less extent, in energy it's the largest deficit because most of the energy facilities in Ukraine were destroyed or severely damaged. More than 70% of non-nuclear energy generation was destroyed or seriously damaged. And we trying to address it and hope I will have some news for you to share quite soon. Yes, in this regard, but which we cannot share yet due to some legal reasons. And SD Capital as well. But what we do can share is, and talking about what was part of our team busy, first of all, Andrei and Philippe, and our investment team, part of our investment team is a Superhumans Hospital, prostatic hospital for veterans in Lviv, as many of you heard. It's not a business project, yes, but it's obviously very important, maybe the largest project on its own of this kind in our country. Which raised in very short period of time, managed to raise more than $60 million for it and build a new modern hospital, the most modern not just in our country but in the region, yes. And the last but not the least, what's relevant for our conversation here is that the team managed to get $25 million war insurance, so-called PRI, from DFC. And more projects like this are now in our pipeline. So we have this experience of getting war insurance for supplies and procurement from other countries, which is very important because it really helps. And obviously, thanks to what Orest and Gabriel and their team are doing in the European Commission, we see that there is a progress finally from the investor side into Ukrainian private equity because of the financing guarantees, which soon hopefully will be provided for investors into Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you, Konstantin. Andrei Nosok.
Hello, everyone. I represent Dragon Capital, which is one of the largest investors in Ukraine. We are active in private equity investments since 2001. initially invest in our proprietary capital, and since 2010 managing private equity funds. We are traditionally a sector agnostic investor. We cross different sectors from consumer goods and services to pharma, healthcare, retail, industrials, financial services, tech, various types of tech, including food and fintech. So we invest where the opportunity arises. We don't want to limit ourselves to a particular industry and end up in a situation that we need to deploy money and there are lack of opportunities. We keep using this strategy post-war. We actually resumed investments in Ukraine already in summer 2022. These were investments in hard assets, in local companies doing business in Ukraine, even without export revenue. We see such opportunities and keep looking after them. We have one of the largest teams on the ground. Everybody is based in Kiev, in our Kiev office. We're very close to market opportunities, and we believe that we understand the risks also at a high level, allowing us to risk our own capital at scale. But at the same time, we are currently fundraising for the new private equity fund that would deploy its capital within the same investment strategy.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. Today, I represent Ukrainian Invest. I'm strategic advisor covering Europe. Actually, I used to work for Dragon Capital as well, so it's practically a team here. Let me say a couple of words about what we do. Probably a lot of you have heard about investment nanny. I understand that I don't look like nanny, but it's related to investments anyway. So if you have any questions regarding the attraction of investments, of what should be done, troubleshooting, even when you already invested in Ukraine, probably we could help. According to the law on significant investments that we operate under, any investment that would be above 12 million euros would be our responsibility to deal with. For that, investors should get in touch with us, and we can help getting this status. It should be getting through the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine. Overall, I would say that the preference that the company with significant investments getting in Ukraine undermines the exemption of income tax, for instance, or VAT, or import duties. So other things. We also can compensate up to 30% of CapEx expenses. For this year, we have the funds in the budget dedicated to that needs. It's around 3 billion euros. It's around 80 million euros. 3 billion hryvnias, yeah, right? So just to make sure that we're on the same spot in terms of numbers. For the last 3 years, or let's, as moderator mentioned, that we have to talk about the sort of last 2.5 years, we managed to help companies to invest around 1.1 billion euros into Ukrainian economies. Probably you know that even last year the investments into Ukraine was around 4.4 billion, and out of that 3.4 that were money that were reinvested. So basically we're helping companies, international and domestic companies who are on the ground to reinvest properly and trying to solve their problems. Most recently, we signed, Cabinet of Ministers signed 2 memorandums with two companies at around 100 million euros. One with the well-known company in agro-sector, agro-processing, protein producer, it's Astarta. Basically, the sum of the investments is around 76 million euros. The plant will be built within 3 years, and 110 jobs will be created. So anything that's somehow related to building or constructing tangible asset on the ground in Ukraine would be our priority. So if you have interest, just let me know.
Thank you. And last but not least, Roman Nikitov, who many of you know is the managing partner of the ICU Ventures, but also today he's a managing partner of the United Heritage Fund, which is a Polish Ukrainian fund. But Roman, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Roman Nikitov, and yes, many people know me as venture capital partner for ICU Ventures. This is what we have been doing since 2017. Now that the fund has moved to the harvesting stage, and the last 1,000 days of experience have shown that the private equity fund for Ukraine reconstruction with focus on helping critical sectors of economy is very important. And we actually have been inspired by the experience that we see Polish companies on top of just humanitarian angle, on top of Ukrainian companies making a lot of, doing business in Poland, relocating sometimes to save business and sometimes, in many cases, luckily to expand. This is unprecedented experience that Ukrainian business is having. On the back of that, we have registered a Polish-Ukrainian fund that will support the Ukrainian companies making business in Poland and Polish companies looking to invest in Ukraine. And also the Ukrainian companies obviously developing in Ukraine. We have made our first investment in the industrial park on the border of between Poland and Ukraine, because this is one of our key sectors that we invest, being logistics, energy, agriculture, and construction and development. And we will be looking to raise, including the Ukraine facility possibilities in this.
Yeah, sure. I hope we're going to talk about it. And thank you for this introduction. And now try to make it as more interactive as possible, because we're now moving to the discussion stage. And for the last 1,000 days, the most frequent question I have on every conference and every conversation with everyone, why the investors are continue to invest in Ukrainian entrepreneurs? This is the most frequent question. What's the rationale behind why you continue to invest? Because everybody knows that investors, they invest in for the profit, not just because they're patriots. And what is the rationale to invest during the war? Because obviously you're not forced to invest during the war, but you invest in, you continue it. And so it's out of necessity. Or what is the rationale behind? And why the other investors that join you, I know this, they join in many deals together with you. So what is the rationale? Because obviously it's not at the front page of the many newspapers that the Ukrainian investors are continue to invest, and also international ones. So probably we start with Andrei, yeah, first, and then everybody please join.
Okay, happy to answer this. Well, we're kind of business-driven, profit-driven. So whatever we do right now, we were doing in the past and doing right now during war, does all make commercial sense for us. In our investment decision making right now, we don't base our investment decisions on the assumption that the war will end in the foreseeable future, although all of us hope this will become a reality and we will capitalize on the investment boom after the end of war. All our investment decisions are currently made on the basis that the situation keeps being as is right now. And having said that, we see a significant portfolio of interesting, attractive deals that would allow us to reach the results that will satisfy the risk-reward ratio. And why in particular this is available? For several reasons. First of all, right now, almost nobody is investing equity in Ukraine. So especially ticket sizes below $30 million are not doable by DFIs directly. This is below the radar. And a lot of these companies are not bankable for DFIs yet. For this reason, kind of foreign direct investors are also not present in Ukraine. We are almost the only ones who are able, among other Ukrainian investors, to help them develop their strategy, finance their expansion strategy, and utilize the momentum to grow their business. And the second reason is because there are local opportunities for businesses to capitalize on these uncertainties and increase their market share, increase their revenue, expand Ukraine-wide. For some businesses, expand internationally. And that is why they are looking for partners like ours.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree with Andrei that business rationale is like very important, and obviously we are all patriots and so on, but there should be business reason as well when business decisions are made. And I think the simplest answer is that, like, for example, in the sectors which we are covering, energy and logistics, the prices in Ukraine are now quite often higher than in our neighboring European Union countries, yes, which is probably not that good for consumers, and we hope to change it in the long term, but it obviously has positive impact on the profitability of such projects, and in some cases the IRRs are very attractive, yes, so I think it's very important. And what we see from the market now is that there are, in our sectors in particular, global strategics which are doing deals now and invest in Ukraine. Hopefully some news might be public soon. And it also showing that they see not just the potential in the future, but that they see a great way to make money here and now, yes, and very good profits. Plus, thanks to war insurance and so on, there are ways to mitigate such risks.
Thank you. Orest, what is your take on it?
Yes, to react quickly, why investing in Ukraine now? Because investing in Ukraine is investing into the future of Europe. Ukraine is becoming part of the European Union, and we believe that Ukraine has indeed a bright future ahead of it, ahead of itself. We are strongly committed to providing financial opportunities to business in Ukraine, but of course we cannot do those investments ourselves. We rely on partners. We are a public institution that is there to de-risk investments. So we have our instruments at the disposal, which includes loan guarantees, it includes blended finance grants, and includes also instruments that can de-risk equity investment in the country. And we believe that Ukraine indeed is worth this investment.
Thank you for this. Investing in Ukraine, investing in the future of Europe. We will come back to this one. But Konstantin, please take it.
Yes, I communicate with investors on a daily basis, and I have to say that majority of investors are probably willing to invest in future. So, and that's probably a smart move, because basically, if you look at the amount of money that will be required for reconstruction, by World Bank estimates, it's almost $500 billion. And I advise companies to get ready right now, just to form teams, send them on the ground, meet with the government officials, speak with the local authorities, think about land opportunities, connection to grids, other stuff, and start doing it right now. So basically, it's an early movement advantage, as I call it. Another one, I would say it's high potential returns, because basically the assets in Ukraine is deeply undervalued. Of course, everybody understands that. And basically, you can get a decent market share right now because competition is quite low, which is also a good opportunity. To be honest, government and local authorities desperately looking for large-scale investors, because for corporations, it's much harder to make decisions comparing to SMEs. And all big players would be treated as gods, I guess, in Ukraine, which is a great opportunity as well, not even accounting for different incentives, like, as I mentioned before, like VAT exemptions and others. So on regional level, you will be supported fully as well, so which is good. And strategically, if you look at the I would say that Ukraine, from a geopolitical standpoint and for the European membership perspectives, so that also look lucrative, and I would advise any investors, if not investing right now, start doing feasibility study, start talking to Ukrainian partners, because probably now it's the right time to move forward and start doing something in Ukraine.
Thank you. Roman, from
I
your
obviously,
side?
I obviously echo to what Konstantin and other participants said, but the way we now present Ukraine to private investors is where we present Ukraine as a special situation. We all, at least people on the panel, have experience of seeing how market reacted and how the valuations reacted. When the war actually started 10 years ago in 2014, I remember Konstantin and I were in the same panel 10 years ago, and Konstantin was shouting in the microphone to investors. It was like, do you understand that the war is 600 kilometers away from Kiev? Do you understand that this is not a war zone? It was a very difficult time because the banking system was leaving Ukraine whatsoever. Private investors were leaving, private equity investors, all foreign investors. But then people that stayed in the country, what choice did we have? We started investing, and we turned out to be in the best position to take a benefit of Ukraine growing afterwards. So it's the same, not the same, but similar, very similar story that I sense today to what has happened 10 years ago, where you invest now to take the benefit of Ukraine growing, and the arbitrage of based on now on EU accession path and all other elements that we expect in respect to Ukraine post-war.
Yeah, thank you. And Roman, why the French investors are not only looking to invest, but actually closing deals, like a recent one, which is one of the biggest one? What was the rationale?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the biggest investment of the last 10 years happened couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
With a French IT legend. It's a legend already in France, Xavier Niel, invested in Volia Cable and Kyivstar, becoming the main. Sorry? Yeah, okay, yeah, live. Sorry, it's the next target. It's the next target.
Okay.
Don't record that. And why he did that? We have basic needs that we all understand. It's eating, and agriculture is very resilient. We even have. I'm talking with a Ukrainian company willing to invest in Europe at the moment. And here, Xavier Niel, what he sees is that the market, the Ukraine market, is one of it's a big market, first of consumers. Everybody is using telecom today, is going to use telecom tomorrow and even more. And Volia has been up and down, and for sure there's things that can be improved, and I'm sure he's going to improve and he's going to make money. He's a visionary, and he considered that the best case scenario has a bigger chance to happen than the worst case. Of course, it does not exclude that it's a risk. But at the end, I think on the long term, he's going to win. That's for sure.
He's going to win, and the Ukrainian visionary investors also going to win. We're going to win together, right, on this one. And this is very perfect example that foreign investors are, for the first time, right, that was the first investments, happened also together with our member Horizon Capital together. This is how they done it together, because they have a reputable local partner for that. Forrest, you want to add something on this one?
Indeed. Just a quick reaction, because this is a historic opportunity, historic investment, where we have a very good example how public sector works with the private together to help rebuild Ukraine. Here, how this investment happened is not just the visionary investor, Xavier Niel himself, but indeed he is getting financing from your member, from Horizon, but in addition to that, also from the EBRD and from the IFC, a part of the World Bank Group, with the guarantees of the European Union under the Ukraine facility, as well as the French government. So it is a very good example that showcases how relevant public funding can be in unlocking private investment in much needed sectors like telecom, which not only supports digitalization, but also I learned that There will be a huge focus on the occupied territories, on working in war-affected regions of Ukraine, which is having a significant socioeconomic impact as well.
Right, so if there is a will, there is a way, and this is just perfect example of how deals can be done. And also just want to add on the behalf of the Ukrainian Venture Capital Private Equity Association and members, we have 15 members that joined for the last 2.5 years, and they heavily invest in the technology-driven businesses. And when they say, in terms of the rationale, I just kind of shared with you the kind of cumulative approach, they say Ukraine on the front line of innovations, and we want to back up the most experienced innovative entrepreneurs in Ukraine because they're going to innovate new things. They're going to be used not only for the Ukraine, both for the defense or the civil sectors, like dual-use technologies, but for the whole world and for the Europe. So this is their rationale why they come into the Ukraine and continue to invest in the technology-driven businesses. All right, so this is getting better and better. So it's not the secret that the Ukrainian investment market has been always heavily undercapitalized, and this is the reason why currently we have 26 funds, 6 private equity and 20 technology-focused funds. They're raising $4 billion cumulatively. So what does it mean? It means that 26 fund managers have not only experience, but also have a pipeline to invest in Ukraine. So I want to ask you, what are the challenges towards the fundraising? What are the mechanisms that are using to de-risk your investments, and what are the programs are available in order to bring the capital back to the Ukraine, because we have the managers that can deploy this capital in SMEs for the value creations and for many other things. So who wants to start first? Yeah, Andrei? Yeah, please.
Thank you. I could start. Basically, the challenges to fundraising are obvious. Private investors are not ready to start investing in Ukraine in their absolute majority. They are interested to explore the local opportunities, but they are waiting for the war situation to resolve. So the major investment community that everybody of us is pitching their funds is development financial institutions. Development financial institutions are very active in their support to Ukraine. Everybody of us have heard that they have deployed billions of dollars in Ukraine's economy. But mostly so far, these money are coming as loans versus equity. And basically our effort right now, together with the European Commission, is to emphasize, and the Ministry of Economy of Ukraine, is to emphasize of the necessity to create a mechanism, which is actually created, to ensure that more of the funds from DFIs go to the funds like ours and everybody else's on the panel, so that these funds get distributed in an efficient manner into the small and medium enterprises across Ukraine. Grow those businesses, get them accessible to DFIs to work directly already with loans, with direct equity, and makes them transparent and attractive for multinational buyers in the future. So that's the realities where we operate, how we kind of work with risks. Everybody, I guess, has their own kind of plan how they work. We, as many, divide Ukraine into different risk zones: the green zone, the amber zone, and the red zone. It basically influences the way we treat investment opportunities coming from a particular zone. So it's much easier to do in the green zone, doable in the amber zone, and not doable in the red zone. We constantly reevaluate the situation, our approach, and that's not the only kind of characteristic that influences our decision making, but it's an important one. That's firstly. Secondly, we intend to work with numerous financial institutions to ensure war guarantees for our investments. And we are actually, as Dragon Capital, the only one recipient of a war insurance guarantee from MIGA, which is part of the World Bank, for our investment project in Lviv, M10, which is an industrial park. So the plan is to keep working on it, on future deals of ours, and this way cover additional war risks.
If I may add, I fully agree with what Andrew said, Andrei. I think there are like two types of the situation here which we have. Basically, like the situation with debt now in Ukraine is way much better than it used to be, and the interest rates are quite affordable and low, and like I think often now comparable to what we had before 2022 in the invasion. Yeah, and as you might know from statistics, the banking sector in Ukraine, like half of all profits in corporate sector made in Ukraine is banking sector. So basically, banking sector is making more profits than all other sectors combined, manufacturing, agriculture, and so on. It's like very interesting situation. It's like our topic here is different, but it influences positively the fact that there is like a lot of debt financing available in Ukraine. And on the other side, we have basically what everyone is here saying for the third year already, almost around zero equity available for the Ukrainian entrepreneurs. And in our like sectors, for example, like in energy, if someone wants to build a new energy generation facilities, and energy is like obviously like the most crucial thing now in our view in Ukraine for the obvious reason, like there is almost no equity available despite we are in the third year of the war, yeah, and soon unfortunately into the fourth. So it's very important that it should be changed, and obviously like the way it usually works in the industry, where development institutions are taking the lead and then private sector is following, yes, and now we see progress happening here in particular, again, thanks to the efforts of the European Commission, and we hope that the situation will change in the near future. As it comes to risk mitigation, there is like enough tools, and there is had to add something to what Andrei said. Obviously, like geographical diversification, Western Ukraine is, for the obvious reasons, much is less risky, way much less riskier, yes. Second, obviously, like there are war insurance. Dragon is the only recipient of MIGA. I think Superhumans by the Capital is the only recipient so far of DFC insurance. So there are such tools. So when there would be a political will to do equity investment, the mitigation tools are already there, yes? The question is political decisions to change this situation when there is like zero equity available. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this one. Or maybe before, because I want to give you more time to explain what the mechanisms are available, and probably Romain, you just interfere.
Yeah, it's very interesting what Konstantin said, because like the bank, they were making more money while doing nothing, basically, using the central bank, because there were lack of companies where they feel secureness to lend money. We're still talking about debt, and I see three ways to tackle that. We need to increase the portfolio of bankable projects. So one direction is my job, basically, to bring French company for me, but we share with other trade agency in Ukraine, because they're gonna bring innovation and make joint venture with Ukrainian companies that are gonna be bankable. Another one has been mentioned by Orest. Development of private-public partnership. There is a big difference between European, French environment and Ukraine. There is still a huge lack of trust between private and public, and we see here the perfect example of successful one, and we should invest in that. The third one is really early stage investment. In France, it's not difficult to find someone investing 30,000, 50,000 euros in an early stage and asking 5–10% of the capital. Here, you're gonna find money. And he's going to say, yeah, I put $500,000 and I want 51% of the share. And the entrepreneur is not interested in that. And here it's also something we work at Business Front. We work first with our homologue, EPO in Ukraine, but also we have developed a brand like French Tech, which is export-oriented, and the idea is to bring that model for Ukraine to help Ukrainian ecosystem to export itself. And when you export, you have trade outside. It's also make the project more bankable at the end.
Thank you. For those just recently joined, I just want to reiterate what the Oris said in the very beginning, that they have a Ukraine investment framework pillar with 9.3 billion euro dedicated for the next 4 years to the private sector. And I would like to just to explain to the audience what exactly it means for the businesses, for the fund managers, and in more detail probably, because it's a very important vehicle and the facility, so we're keen to hear what is all for us now and in upcoming years.
Indeed, thank you so much for acknowledging it, and I'm also very happy, very flattered even that this was already mentioned several times by our other contributors. We have been working to support Ukraine with the investment framework in a very speedy manner. So I mentioned that at the beginning at the Ukraine Recovery Conference in Berlin, we signed first investment programs. We are entering the next stage now, and we have issued just 2 months ago now a new call for proposals that is aimed at international financial institutions and bilateral finance institutions and development banks of EU member states in particular. So these are development finance institutions like EIB, EBRD, IFC, KfW, BGK. And I'm mentioning these names because we are already in discussions with them as regards investment programs that concern also private equity ecosystem. So indeed, financing in terms of debt and equity, they should go hand in hand. We recognize that Ukraine has been benefiting a lot from debt financing, and the first round of investment programs that we signed in Berlin, this is indeed all focusing on debt. So we do have loans to big private companies like the NJJ Holding to invest and buy companies in Ukraine. But also we have a lot of debt financing that is going to Ukrainian companies through the banking system. But we recognize that this is not enough. We have to work also with companies directly, sharing risk directly and doing that in form of private equity investment. And for this reason, we have included a dedicated private equity window under our call for proposals to IFIs. We have earmarked a sum of 200 million. I know this is a modest sum and an indicative sum, but we are indeed testing the market. We know that the private equity ecosystem in Ukraine is emerging. It is developing. It is not as deep as in other countries. We are here in Poland. I think the Polish market perhaps is 100 times bigger, but colleagues will correct me on the specificities here. We want to work with private equity funds and also with companies, and we are in discussions with all these IFIs that I mentioned before. I can already share with you, because we did have some preliminary discussions also in a parallel format here at the ReBuild Ukraine conference with partners like the EBRD and the EIB. Both are working to prepare programs together with us, with our de-risking instruments, with our guarantees and blended finance grants, to support private equity funds in Ukraine, and also to support private equity funds that come from abroad to look at Ukraine. So this is about foreign direct investment as well. So EIB and EBRD are the right entry points, but there are a number of other players with which we encourage further discussion. And I mentioned partners like KfW, BGK. This is the German and the Polish development banks, but there are others. There is the IFC, which is part of the World Bank Group, and there are a number of others that are talking to us as well. So we definitely encourage fund managers, we encourage companies to approach them, to tell them that equity financing is something that private companies in Ukraine need, that is necessary for recovery and reconstruction. We recognize also that by equity investment, the possibilities for debt will also expand. So these two go hand in hand with each other, and we would like to foster both.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you mentioned the Poland and the Polish market. But then everybody knows that the reason why in Poland you have hundreds private equity and venture capital funds, because there is a Polish fund of funds, PFR, together with the EIF, actually developed the ecosystem, and they just put the money in, at least the first checks, as the institutional investors. So unfortunately, Ukraine didn't have the market maker on the institutional side in order to build the private equity venture capital industry. However, now we have a Ukrainian fund of funds that, at least for now, could also play this role in order to become a first institutional investor, do due diligence, and at least give them more chances for 26 funds to actually try to raise the other funds from the market. This is the reason why the Polish private equity market is so successful, and we aim to repeat the success on the bigger scale as well. But for that, we also need work hand to hand with the European Union, with the European Commission, and also with IFIs and DFIs. That now we'll get some instruments from you in order to deploy this. And just for the sake of the audience, fund managers are not just pure taking money from the investors in the funds and just give the entrepreneurs. They actually become a co-partner to create the value creation to help the company grow. So, and now it's very important for the Ukrainian business and the Ukrainian ecosystem that we have a legitimate partner to help them grow. But for that, you also need the investments to deploy. And speaking of the European Union, and I like what Oris said, like investing in Ukraine, you invest in the future of the Europe. And if you go on the European Commission website, you will see this 400 pages, the report on EU competitiveness, or the so-called the Draghi plan for the Europe. And I'm just wondering for the panelists, how you see the Ukrainian ecosystem is actually empowering or contributing to the European competitiveness landscape. Do you have any particular sectors or the particular cases that you see is already happening, or you may happen in the future in order to build this bridge between the Ukraine and European business and investments landscapes? Anyone wants to start? Yeah, Roman, please.
I think this is already happening. Forced by the war, there's a lot of business relocation. And if we take the example of Poland, in the last 2 years of the war, Ukrainians have opened more than 65,000 of businesses, including private entrepreneurs, of course. But there was a Polish report stating that every 10th company in Poland for the last 2 years has been opened by Ukrainian UBO. So the investment and impulse into Polish and European Union economy made by Ukrainian companies and businessmen have already been made and is ongoing. And obviously these businesses and these humans, these businessmen, they're going to be building the bridge back to Ukraine, and they're going to be building the trust for those people that they work in the European Union to invest or co-invest with them. This is exactly our thesis, where we think the Ukrainian business actually trying to save the business in many cases, but also to expand, has already started building and integrating in European Union. And I think private equity people supported hopefully by public funds, because obviously it's very hard to attract private investment at the time of war, whatever we say. So we're looking for instruments, we're looking for ways, but obviously it would be much easier for all of us to attract a private investor in our funds if we're supported by share of public funds. That would be much easier. In Poland, obviously, Andrei, thank you for mentioning, it's been 20 or 30 years of experience where the PFR, the public fund of funds, have been supporting the private equity and venture capital funds by allocating the different water flow depending on a risk of investment to the private investors. So I think this is something that we should consider for Ukraine as well.
Konstantin, you want to?
Very shortly to comment on that. First of all, I really like what Oris said about that the huge difference in scale between the Ukrainian and Polish private equity community. Yeah? Not so long ago, I was honored to be at the dinner of anniversary of Polish private equity community. It was like, I don't know, tens of tables, more than 100 people. Yes, way much more than 100. I thought that if it would be like in Ukraine, it would be like one table, yeah, or two, okay. So it's like the huge and the scale is different, while these countries are comparable, yes? And obviously this should be changed and the gap should be decreased. And I really agree with what Roman said about like positive Ukrainian influence in Poland in particular, where a significant part of the new entrepreneurs in Poland are from Ukraine, where Ukraine is like by far the largest own buyers of real estate among foreigners and this and that. But it's very important, again, to have a balance here. Yes, like in our fund, we have Polish co-founders, and we actually bring in Polish expertise to Ukraine, because we see that in our sector, in energy, more and more Ukrainian energy companies, they are starting projects in Europe, and one of the reasons, because it's much easier for them to get financing, and it's important for us to avoid the brain drain, not just in tech sector, but in energy sector, and in other sectors, when people, and especially entrepreneurs, and not just entrepreneurs, would be leaving to Europe and applying their talent there, because it's much easier to have business, much cheaper loans, much longer loans, much more available loans and equity, yes? So I think it's very important to find the balance here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Romain, what is your take on it?
Yeah, the two sectors, agriculture and defense, and actually it's pretty similar with difference in timing, I would say, but Europe has seen so far Ukraine as a competitor, but if both European Union and Ukraine see each other as a competitor, then we'll figure that the other actors, especially Russia, is a big competitor, and China and America, and Europe and Ukraine together are going to be strong, or they're going to be weak, trying to fight and to compete. Yeah. And it's very difficult because the models are very different, but in both models, and I know them well, there is interesting things to take. In defense, that's the same. It happens, of course, with the war, but the innovation here is tremendous. What we do amazing equipment. You see the scissor and the scalp, and it's very effective, but it costs too much. It costs too much. We are not able to provide. And what Ukraine is providing, the drone, is a very good example. And we need to apply the Ukrainian mentality and share it with French equipment and European equipment and Europe state of innovation to be shared with Ukrainian. So that's two. And then we're going to export everywhere in the world together, and that's going to benefit the European Union.
Absolutely, and the defense itself and dual-use technologies, they kind of go hand to hand in terms of innovation. Of course, it's a different kind of markets and even different type of investors, but definitely this is what drives the innovations and the investments coming from the technology-driven funds, because to your point, because the security of Europe, from public safety to the other verticals, is critical to do it today. This is what drives the people and the co-investors as well. And the entrepreneurs have a pipeline of the projects, and many funds that I mentioned, they're looking at these dual-use type of technologies. If we have a time for the Q&As, I believe, right? And yeah, do we have time for Q&A? Yeah? Okay, we have 5 minutes. That means we'll take 1 or 2 questions from the audience. If you want to ask the panelists any questions. Anyone have any questions for the panelists? Okay, we have one volunteer on the left. Just please introduce yourself so we know.
Hi everyone, thank you for time. Actually, I'm here today to represent the company Bunker.ua. We are located in Ukraine, and we are working on shelters and bunkers for civilian and for military as well.
Clear.
And my question is, for example, if we have a lot of projects which will help to save people, and will have to help our soldiers to answer a lot of questions as our defense systems and a lot of another one, how we can contact with this investment, and how we can represent our projects and to be heard.
Sure. Well, first of all, I may take this, and then because we just 2 days ago had the UK-Ukraine Defense and Dual-Use Investments Forum. So, in 2 days we're going to have the same one in Prague, and 2 weeks ago we had the 2 events. UVCA conducted the pitching session in the Kyiv itself, and by the way, the many international investors came in. So please follow the UVCA events and some of our partners, from the Brave one to the other ones, in order to pitch your startups to the international, to the Ukrainian-focused investors. This is a quick one, but if you have anything to add.
We are based in Kiev. We can give you contacts. Happy to receive any proposals from the audience, from you as well, and evaluate them. So it's our work to evaluate investment proposals. The more we see, the better for us.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I will go to you, to Mr. Andrei, to have this contact.
Yes,
Thank you.
and please follow UVCA page on the LinkedIn and Facebook and follow our events. And please come and to see our investors. All
Thank
right.
you. Okay.
Thank you for this one. But before we conclude, I would just give like the final remarks for each of the panelists in order to deliver or maybe sum up the main topic of our today's panel. Just to remind you, is attracting investments and the investments in the Ukrainian entrepreneurs. So we'll start. Yeah, Roman. Yeah. Just we go like one by one.
Right. I'm really committed to Ukraine to get results, and I'm really focusing on bringing French companies here, making the breeze Ukrainian, and making Konstantin and everybody here successful in their return on investments. Thank you.
Oh, that's a good
Actually,
one.
in this regard, I would like to thank Roman and friends because actually Superhumans is expanding. And they are opening Odessa subsidiary, and thanks to the support from the French government. So thank you very much.
Yeah, Forrest.
I would like to touch upon one additional topic, and I will then conclude. The topic is indeed the generation of the projects, a pipeline of projects for investment. We definitely also want to work on this front. We have had a lot of discussions with the government of Ukraine concerning the project preparation framework overall for investments into Ukraine, but we want to focus as well on preparing private sector projects. And I think working together with equity funds and the startup ecosystem, innovation ecosystem as well, is something that is absolutely crucial for us. So we want to build on this. And finally, why to invest in Ukraine? I said that this is the future of Europe, but it is also a strategic imperative and a moral imperative for the European Union. We stand by Ukraine because we believe that this is the right thing to do, but at the same time, we stand by Ukraine. We choose to invest into Ukraine's economy, into its future, because we think that there is an economic case. We are preparing for the large-scale recovery and rebuilding of Ukraine, and the right time to invest into Ukraine is now.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
I would shortly support this message. We strongly believe in Ukraine. We keep investing our own money as we speak. This is the best confirmation that we believe in Ukraine. We live in Ukraine. Our families are in Ukraine. All the team is in Ukraine. So I believe if we keep doing so, all of us, we will succeed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's an easy answer to the question why invest in Ukraine, because it's the best country in the world. And with the happy Ukrainians, I think Europe will benefit, and thank you to our European partners for providing financing. Now, a ball on our side, because we have to have bankable projects. And from our own experience, we have a big problem, especially in regions, in preparing this kind of bankable projects. Yeah? And I also want to stress on one important thing that we probably did not cover today, because we mainly speak about the companies that already in Ukraine, that knows Ukraine, that can get this risk, that cannot repatriate money and reinvest, for instance, in Ukraine. But what about this 99.99% of companies that are not in Ukraine and have not been to Ukraine before the war? I mean, we probably have to increase our capacity and work with all those companies to get in touch with the CEOs, risk managers, people covering region analytics, and for them to send teams to Ukraine to see, for instance, that investments possible in one of these 85 industrial parks that we have in Ukraine. And if you look at the map, so mainly all these industrial parks located quite far from the front line, and it's more or less safe to invest there. So we have to work on capacity building, we have to work on promoting Ukraine. Still a lot of stuff to do. But with the help of our European partners, I think we'll do that.
For sure. We're open for business. Roman?
Okay, it looks like I have a pleasure of completing the show.
Yeah.
So, two short theses. First of all, investing in Ukraine is actually investing in Europe's security. We are all commercially driven here. It's a private equity panel, and we have investors that we're attracting based on commercial interest. But let's not forget, the strong Ukrainian economy is the basis for European security. So just just to have a sense of why invest in Ukraine, if nothing else, or even consider investing and preparing for investment. And second, I would like to not forget that we're all gathering here in Poland, and I would like to thank Poland generally and Warsaw Expo Center for holding us here and for giving us a place to meet and discuss. And I think Poland needs to play a very active role in Ukraine rebuilding. And we as Ukrainians, we need to build up and borrow the experience that the Polish existing current generation has had rebuilding their own country.
Absolutely, that was a great panel, and we had 10 years of the challenging time, but the logo of UVCA still remains the same. We invest in Ukraine, this is our motto. We're going to continue to invest in Ukraine, and we invite other investors to co-invest into the Ukrainian entrepreneurs. So we can do this together. You heard the investor from the panel, so let's make it happen, and thank you so much. Thank you.